Good morning, Church at Liberty Park. Today we're on 1 Corinthians chapter 5, and here Paul is writing to the church at Corinth. And what we see here is the culture is beginning to overtake the church in Corinth, and we know that this can happen to us as well. And so here we see a man in the church that is committing sexual immorality with his stepmother, and he is deliberately sinning in a way that is really even detestable to the outside world. And he is continuing this sin with no desire to repent. And so this is a present, ongoing sin. So this is not a man that is struggling with sin and wanting to turn from it. Rather, this is a picture of open, settled, and unrepentant sin with no desire to follow Jesus. And so the question is, how should a church respond to this kind of situation? How should a church handle this situation? And so let's look in a couple of these verses here. Starting in verse 2, it says the phrase, "Let him who has done this be removed from among you." And then if you look down at verse 5, it says, "You are to deliver this man to Satan for the destruction of the flesh, so that his spirit may be saved in the day of the Lord." And then down in verse 7, you see the phrase, "Cleanse out the old leaven." And then in verse 11, Paul writes, "But now I'm writing to you not to associate with anyone who bears the name of brother if he is guilty of sexual immorality or greed, or is an idolater, reviler, drunkard, or swindler, not even to eat with such a one." And then finally in verse 13, you see the phrase, "Purge the evil person from among you." And so here what we see is the very end of a process that Jesus outlines and gives us in Matthew chapter 18. So just to quickly summarize, in Matthew chapter 18, verse 15 through 17, the first step in the process in church discipline is to go to that person, just you and the person. And if they don't listen to you, then you're to take one or two people along with you. And if they still don't listen and respond to that, then you're to take it to the church as a whole. And if they still are unresponsive to that, then the final step is that they should be removed from the church. And this can sound, really harsh, especially in our day and age, but we need to be clear and understand that this is really actually for the good of the person that is caught in sin. The desire is that they would turn from their sin and turn to the Lord. So it's for the good of the person. It's also for the good of the church and for the good of the church's reputation. And finally, it's ultimately for the glory of God. And so this is why it's important for us as a church to hold each other accountable with humility and in love, and help and encourage one another to follow hard after Jesus. And so I hope you enjoy 1 Corinthians 5 today.